Hi, Phanessa here. In this video, I am going to demonstrate how to crochet this granny cardigan. So I made two different versions. There is the adult version and a child version. So in the adult version, I did not add ribbing, but in the child version, I did. So that will be an option in the pattern. I will show you how to do that in this tutorial, but you can choose to leave that out, and also you can choose to use one color. It's really up to you, but since I use multicolor, I will be using different colors in this tutorial. Okay, so for materials, go ahead and grab your yarn. So I'm using worsted weight yarn, and I'm using a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. Just use whatever the yarn label recommends. I am using a larger hook because I want my stitches looser. So you'll need a tape measure, scissors, tapestry needles, and a couple of stitch markers. All right, let's get started. Okay, if you want more information on the pattern, see the description box below. So I'm just going to start with this color here. So you want to chain in multiples of 3 plus 2. And into the second chain from the hook, there's the first and second. You're going to work one single crochet. I like to turn it around and work through the back humps. It gives it a nicer edge. Okay, so one single crochet, and then one single crochet in each stitch across. So now grab your stitch markers and mark the corners. For me, I had 5 stitches, and then I marked a corner, 5 stitches, and then another corner. There's 15 in the back and another corner, and finally 5 more stitches and one more corner. So into the 6th stitch here, I'm going to mark my first corner. There should be 5. Into the 6th stitch, I'm going to mark another corner, and then 15 stitches and mark another corner. So see the pattern in the description box below for more information on the different measurements. So we're going to start with chain 3 and turn. That's going to be your first double crochet. I'm going to work a chainless double crochet stitch. I'll leave a link if you'd like to learn how to do that. Okay, so, or you can just chain 3. So we're going to work our first granny stitch, which is a 3 double crochet cluster. Yarn over into that 3rd stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, and pull through 2. Okay, now we're going to work 2 more double crochets, 1 and 2. Okay, so if you had more, then you would just skip 2 and then work another one. But since this one's marked, it tells me that it's the corner. So what I'm going to do in the corner stitches is I'm going to work 2 sets of these, so 2 granny stitches. So right into that marked stitch, you always skip 2 between each stitch. 1, 2, 3. Because this is the corner, I'm going to work another set. You're going to chain 2 and work another set right into the same stitch. Okay, see how it curves around for you? You can see there's 2 stitches here on this section here, and that's your increases. Okay, again, skip 2 and then 1 granny stitch in the next stitch, which is 3 double crochet stitches. I see we're at another corner, so you're going to work 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. I'm going to move this marker. It's kind of in my way. Okay, so there's 3. I'm going to chain 2 and work another 3 double crochets right into the same stitch. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so just follow that pattern all the way around. Skip 2, a granny stitch, skip 2, a granny stitch. When you get to the corners, you work two granny stitches, so 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. And you're going to repeat that all the way to the last stitch, and then just work 1 double crochet in the last stitch. Okay, so I'm skipping 2, 3 double crochets in the next, skip 2, 3 double crochet in the next, so I'm at the end. I'm going to skip 2 and then 1 last double crochet. So I'm going to work 2 rows of this color. So now you can see that we've created the top part of the cardigan. The corners are here, 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 and here. And then they have 2 sets on each corner. So you want to chain 3 and turn, or work your chainless double crochet. The chain 3 is always going to count as a double crochet. Okay, so right in this space here, I'm going to work 2 double crochets. Okay, right into the space. So there's our first granny stitch. Now you're just going to work 1 granny stitch in every space between these 2, and then in the corners right here, I'm not going to move my marker, but you can if you like. You can see them just by looking for the double granny stitch. So every corner you want to work 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets, and you repeat that all the way around. So into my first space here, I'm just going to work 3 double crochets. This is the corner, so I'm going to work 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. Okay, that's my chain 2, and work another set of 3 double crochets. Okay, I have 1 space here. I'm going to work 3 double crochets, and then I have another space here. I'm going to work 3 double crochets. Okay, so this is another corner. I'm going to work 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. So there's 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. If you need assistance with basic crochet methods, I'll leave a link for that. Okay, so you're just going to repeat that all the way around. 1 set in between each of the sets below. In the corners, it's 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets in this chain 2 space here. You're going to do that all the way around, and then you'll end with 3 double crochets at the end here. I'm changing colors every 2 rows, so I'm going to switch colors here. You can switch colors by just adding the new color to your loop here, or you can incorporate it into your last stitch. So before you complete your last double crochet, you'll just go ahead and grab the new yarn, make a loop, and then just pull it through. Okay, I like to tie knots, and I don't carry my yarn, I just go ahead and cut this one off, grab the tails and tie a couple of knots. That's just personal preference. Okay, so now you're going to repeat the same steps using the new color. So with each row, you're going to increase 4 stitches. Okay, so the same thing, I'm going to work a chainless double crochet. Okay, row 2, we're going to chain 3 or work your chainless double crochet. Now this here, when we did the other side, we had a space here, but on row 2, you already have a set of 3 double crochets here. So you're going to go right into this space here, and then this is just going to be a standalone double crochet. So into the next space, you want to work 3 double crochets. And in each space until you get to the corner. Okay, so here's the corner. You can see the double granny stitch there. You want to work 3 double crochets, chain 2, and 3 double crochets. And then I'm going to work my granny stitch in every space until I get to the corner stitch again. So I'm going to repeat this all the way to this end here, and instead of working 3 double crochets like you did the last round, you're just going to end with 1 double crochet into the 3rd chain, or your chainless double crochet, depending on what you did. Okay, I'm at the end, so I'm going to work 1 double crochet into the top of my chainless double crochet. If you chained 3, it'll be the top of your chain 3, so the 3rd chain. Okay, so this was your single crochet row, this was your setup row, and now this is 1 and 2. So you're going to repeat 1 and 2 until you have the size on your sleeve, which is right here, that you want for your armhole. Okay, so the difference with the first round is and the second round is you start and end with a granny stitch, and then the second round or row you start and end with just 1 double crochet, and then you just change your color as you'd like. I'm going to work 2 rows of the same color and then switch every 2 rows. Okay, so I am going to stop here, and I put this on my son's shoulders, and I matched basically the sleeves to the shirt he was wearing, and I'll show you what that looks like. So you basically want to continue until the sleeves are the right size, and this is what my piece looks like. This is the front, these are the sleeves, and then this is the back right here. I happen to end with a set of 1 color, but if you need it to end after working just 1 row of 1 color, this next step that I'm going to do, you can use the next, you can use the same color. So just keep the pattern of your colors. So now I'm going to add this one here. Okay, so I'm going to add my next color. I already cut off the previous color. Okay, so I'm going to turn my work. Again, chain 3 or work your chainless double crochet. So you're only going to work until this one here. So work until the corner. So don't work the corner just yet. Okay. So I'm going to work my granny stitches all the way across to the corner. Okay, so here's the corner. Now what you're going to do is you're going to skip all of the sleeve stitches. Okay, so fold it so that you can go straight into the back section. So I'm going to work 3 into the next space, which is my corner. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Now I'm going to skip to this corner and work 3 double crochets. Okay, so now you'll continue all the way across the back, and then when you get to this side, you're going to do the same. Okay, so I've worked across the back. I'm at the corner again, so instead of working an increase, I'm just going to work 1 set there and then fold this for the sleeve, the other side, and work another set on this side, so there's no increases in the corners. So here is my set here. Oops. Now I'm going to hop on over here to this corner, okay, and work 3 double crochets. Now I'm going to continue across the other front side. Okay, last stitch, 1 double crochet into your chain 3 or your chainless double crochet. So staying within my pattern, the color pattern, I'm going to keep the same color because I want to work 2 rows. I'm just going to go back this way. When you get to this corner, you're just going to place 1 here where this space is. Okay, so this side we start with 1 set right into this space here. So 2 more double crochets. Don't forget that very first stitch or your chain 3 is a double crochet stitch. Okay, so this is the sleeve, this is the corner. I'm just going to work right into this huge space, so the sleeve, so that you keep in pattern with the rest of these stitches. And then continue on. And you'll do the same thing for the other side or the other sleeve. Okay, just like that. And when you get here, same thing. Okay, so I'm here on this side of the sleeves. I'm just going to work my 3 double crochets right into that space, so between those last 2 granny stitches, and then I'm going to complete this row all the way across, working 1 granny stitch in every space between the previous granny stitches. Okay, well, before I finish this one, I'll change my colors. Alright, so now all you do is continue your color pattern all the way down until you have basically the length that you want your cardigan to be. Okay, so I'm happy with the length of the cardigan. If you don't plan on adding ribbing to the bottom, then you can skip this part, but I am going to add ribbing along the bottom of the cardigan. So there is timestamps in the description below. You can hop around because I did record this out of order. So if you need to jump around because of the different options you choose, check the description box for the timestamp so that you can just get there without watching the rest of this. Okay, so for the ribbing down here, I'm going to go down to 5.5. I was using 6.5 size K for the whole project. For the ribbing down at the bottom, I'm going to decrease to the I, which is 5.5. I'm going to be using 3 different hook sizes, but it's really up to you. Because for the sleeves, I'm going to go down to 4.5. You're going to chain as many chain stitches as you want for the length of. I'm going to chain 10. Maybe I don't want it that long. 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I'm going to go with 8. You're going to work into the second chain from the hook. Here's the first, there's the second. Working through the back humps. So the back side. Work 1 single crochet. And then in each chain stitch, work 1 single crochet all the way back to the base here. So this is what I'm going to call the base. I have 1 more stitch. Okay. So here's the very first stitch, which is going to count for this one here. You're going to work a slip stitch in each of the next 2 stitches. Okay, so we're skipping this 1, 2. So work 1 slip stitch in the next 2. Okay, there's the first one and the second. Okay, so the stitch marker is going to be placed into the next stitch here. Okay, so when you start working in this direction and you come back, that's the very next stitch that you need to work. Yeah, that's usually the hardest stitch to see when you come back. So you're going to turn your work. This stitch here and this stitch here is your slip stitches. So this is the first stitch you want to work into. So insert your hook into the back loop of that stitch. Okay, just the back loop. 1 single crochet. Okay, and then into each stitch across, 1 single crochet in the back loop. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So count your stitches because you can get lost here in this section here. So I have 7 stitches, chain 1, turn. I'm already turned. You want to work back into this direction and you're working in the back loop still. You're going to work all of the ribbing in through the back loops. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I want to make sure I always have 7 single crochets. So here is where we placed the marker for you to work your slip stitch. Now if you look, this actually looks like a spot that you would work into, but that's actually the one you just worked into previously. So you're going to work slip stitches where this marker is and the next stitch. So 1 and 2. Okay, place the marker in the very next stitch, and then you know where to work your slip stitches when you come back to the base. Okay, turn. Again, this stitch here and this stitch is your slip stitch. So into the next one, 1 single crochet, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, it's easy to miss a stitch or add stitches if you don't count your stitches. So I'm just going to repeat that back and forth all the way to the other end of the corner of my cardigan. You don't need to use the stitch marker if you don't need it. I just thought that might help some of you folks that are a little newer to crochet. Okay, so that's my 7 stitches, and the next stitch here where my stitch marker is where I work my first slip stitch. So 1 and 2. Okay, place your marker back into the very next stitch. Whoops. Okay, and continue on. Skip the first 2 slip stitches, go into the next stitch, and then work 1 single crochet through back loops all the way across. Okay, so I'm going to repeat this all the way to the other end. Okay, so I've worked a few rows and this is what it looks like. So you will work the ribbing the same way with the front band and also the cuffs. Okay, so to work the front band, you're going to find the corner, make sure it's the right side out. At this point, if you haven't worked the sleeves, it's reversible. So just decide which side is your wrong and which side is your right. If you need to, place a marker on the right side so you know which side is which. Again, you can check the description box for the timestamps. So if you work the ribbing here, you'll just start at the corner where the ribbing is. But this here does not have the ribbing, so I'm going to insert my hook right into the corner. And then this is where I'm going to attach yarn. Okay, make sure you're using the same hook size. We will switch to a smaller hook size after we work 1 row of single crochet stitches. So I'm just going to use this color here. You can start with the slip knot if you'd like. Okay, so chain 1, and then you want to work 1 single crochet into that same stitch. We're going to work 1 row of single crochets all the way along the edges. So right here, I'm going to work another single crochet. In between this post here, so in through the stitch, I'm going to work another single crochet. It's better to work through these stitches rather than through this space. Okay, next stitch. So you're just going to continue working single crochets across to the other side. In the end, I decided to use the blue to match the sleeves. I think I have about 3 to 4 single crochets for every 2 rows. You can judge how many stitches you have as you're working. Okay. If it gets wavy, that means you've placed too many stitches. So pull it out and work less stitches. If it starts to pucker and pull in, then you've worked not enough stitches. So you'll need to pull out and add more. And just work it loosely. I'm going right through the posts or the actual stitch itself and not through a space. So you can see right there, right through the post there. So if you're not adding ribbing, you're only going to work this one row of single crochet stitches. So right here, there's still a yarn right behind it because I'm going through the stitch and not into the space. So you're just going to work one row of single crochet stitches, work all the way up the side, along the neck, and then back down the other side. Once you get to the end of the other side, you will then follow the instructions for the hem, so the ribbing, to work the front band. You'll just go down a hook size or whatever hook size you prefer, and you're just going to follow the same instructions to work your ribbing all the way back to the other end. Again, there are timestamps in the description box so that you can hop around and go back to the different parts of the video. So I won't be demonstrating how to crochet the ribbing again in this video. So now I want to start the sleeves. So I worked 2 rows of this color. So then I want to start with this color here to continue the same color pattern. Make a slip knot. I'm going to start in the underarm. This is going to be a space we're working into. This is also another one, and here, that's the corner space, and this corner space. So 4 of these clusters, you're going to work right in those areas. The rest is just going to be like what you've been doing, working into the space between each clusters below. So I'm just going to choose this spot here. I'm going to grab my yarn, attach it, chain 3. So this counts as your first double crochet, or you can do the chainless double crochet. I'll chain 3 for this section here. So work 2 double crochets. This is your first cluster. So right here, this was the chain 2 corner. We're going to work another cluster stitch. Okay, so work 3 double crochets right into this space. Okay, so that's 2 and 3. Now we're just going to work right into the next space. Okay, so 3 double crochets here, and we're going to work 1 cluster stitch in every space between the previous 2 clusters, just like we've been doing. So work those stitches all the way around to the end of the round. Okay, so I am almost around to the end of the round. I'm just going to work a couple of more cluster stitches. So there's 2 and 3. Okay, so this right here is my first cluster stitch. The next space I'm going to work into is right here. Okay, it's on the other side of this cluster. Now you want to join to the first stitch, so the chain 3, the 3rd chain. Okay, so now you want to start your next round. I'm going to turn my work. The reason is because when we worked in rows, we turned after every row. And some may not be able to tell, but mostly just people who crochet will be able to tell. This is the wrong side here, and then this is the right side. So you can see that the wrong side has a little bit more texture. So you don't need to turn at the end of each round, but I'm going to do that just so that I keep the sleeve portion consistent with the rest of the cardigan. Okay, so for this one, I'm just going to work my chainless double crochet. Again, if you're just working chain 3, then go ahead and chain 3, and that will be your first double crochet. So right into the same space, 2 more double crochet stitches. Okay, there's my first cluster. Now I'm just going to work one cluster in every space all the way around and then join to the top of my stitch here. And then you just continue in the same manner, turning at the end of each round, switching colors so that it matches the rest of your cardigan or whatever you're doing. If you're using solids, no need to switch colors at all. As long as you're working 3 double crochets in every space and then joining at the end of the round. You can change colors with the last double crochet stitch. So like I showed you, changing the colors right before you complete the last double crochet, or you can just slip stitch with the new yarn. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. I put this on my son and I like the length of the sleeves, and then I'm going to add ribbing and make this part go a little bit smaller. Don't forget to factor that in when you're measuring for the sleeves. And I stopped at blue because that's his favorite color. And I'm going to use the blue to finish off as well. So I was on the wrong side or the inside. Now I'm flipped back to the right side. Okay, now I'm going to work a decrease round. Okay, so I'm going to work 3 single crochets and then 3 single crochets together. Okay, so 1, 2, and 3. You can place a marker on the first stitch here if you need help finding it when you get back around. So on top of this cluster, I'm going to work a decrease, a single crochet 3 together. I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, insert my hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Finally, into the third stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop. With 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 4. Okay, so repeat that all the way around. 3 single crochets and then single crochet 3 together. So depending on how many clusters you have, you won't necessarily end on a decrease. If you have an odd number of clusters, then you'll just work 1 single crochet in each of the last 3 stitches. So you're decreasing every other cluster. So I'm at my last 3 stitches. I just worked a decrease, so I have an odd number of clusters. I'm just going to work 1 single crochet in each of the last 3 stitches. Okay, I'm just going to slip stitch to the first stitch to join. Okay, so now I'm going to start on the ribbing, and for the ribbing I want it even tighter, so I'm going to switch up my hook to a G 4.5. I was using 6.5, so I've gone down several sizes. So when you start the cuffs, you want to make sure that you're on the wrong side of the work. Okay, so I'm going to start with 10 chains, so I will have 9 stitches. You want to chain as tall as you want the width of your cuff. This is going to be worked the same way as you did for the hem and the front band. Okay, so just chain as tall as you want for the width of the cuffs. Okay, now work into the second chain. This is the first, that's the second. Work 1 single crochet. So into the second stitch, 1 single crochet. This time I'm just going right through the chain stitch instead of through the back humps. So you want to work 1 single crochet in each of the chain stitches back to the base of your sleeve, so the last row that you worked. Again, you can use a stitch marker if you need to place it on the sleeve so you know where to work your slip stitches, just like you did with the hem. So this is my last one. Okay, so this is the stitch you're in, and this is the cluster. These are the 3 stitches. We're going to work slip stitch into here, and then into the next stitch also work a slip stitch. Okay, that's the first one. Right into the next one, work another slip stitch. Into the next stitch you can place a stitch marker like you did with the hem. So for the next row, turn, and we're going to work back in this direction through the back loop, just like before. There's the 2 slip stitches, don't work in there. This is the one you want to work into. We're just going through the back loop, just like before. Again, there is timestamps if you want to go back to the hem to see how it's worked, but it's pretty much the same process. So 1 single crochet through every stitch across and just the back loop. Count your stitches. Make sure you have the same number of single crochet stitches. I started off with 9 single crochets, so at the end of every row I want to make sure that I have 9 stitches. Okay, this is my last single crochet. Now you're going to chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to work back in this direction. So we're going to skip the chain 1 into the next stitch, 1 single crochet through the back loop, and then you're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch through the back loop. Okay, so I have 9 single crochets. I'm ready to work my slip stitches. So this one here is the one that you worked into. You're going to skip that one and then work 1 slip stitch into each of the next 2 stitches. Okay, so this is my second slip stitch, turn. Again, you can place a marker if you need to help you find your stitch. Skip 2 chains. So right here, 1, 2, 3, into the back loop. Oh, let me tighten that. And work 1 single crochet. Okay, so you're going to repeat that back and forth all the way around. Make sure you work 2 slip stitches when you get back to this side. And skip the first 2 what looks like stitches, which is your slip stitches, and go back into the other side. Work into the back loops only. When you get to the outer end here, you want to chain 1 and turn. And just count your stitches after every row. This is my first row here. You want to make sure you end on this side at the base. So I'm going to work 2 more rows going this direction and then back, and then we'll turn it around and work our seam to pull them together. That's my 9th stitch. Okay, so now I'm going to remove this and work 1 last slip stitch. Okay, so now we're going to turn this. I mean, you can flip the whole sleeve inside out, but I'm going to just fold it like this. So basically you want the wrong sides out. Okay, now we're ready to seam this. Remember that this is the wrong side of your cardigan. So you want to work slip stitches through these two edges here, starting with the first stitch on this side. So this is the row that you first started with. The first row. This is your last row here. In the last row, you're going to work through the back loops. So you should be familiar with back loops by now. And then you want to work your slip stitch. Okay, through the front row here, and then through the back loops on this side. So if you work my beanies before, this is pretty much the way I put together the brim on my beanies. So you just continue that all the way across. Okay, that was my last stitch. So you can fasten off, and then there's your seam right there on the right side. Okay, so now you're done with this sleeve, and just repeat the same thing for the other side. Okay, so fasten on. I already did that here. And then you'll just go around and around. Okay, just make sure you have the same number of rounds as you do for this side. So if you're customizing, I recommend writing it down. All right, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification button so that you will be notified every time I post a video. I'll see you next time.